Sanctions have been imposed on 82 individuals and 29 companies. German payment provider Wirecard went bankrupt on Tuesday.
Russia has launched an unprecedented disinformation campaign against...
Billions of dollars have been found in various offshore accounts.
Welcome to Integrity Insights, the Berlin Risk podcast. Hello everyone. So I'm finally managed to record another episode, which I have to apologize. This took a little longer than with the previous ones, but I hope I can make up for it with some really good content. I had a conversation with Henrik Vold, a Norwegian journalist and an instructor at the Norwegian Institute of Journalism. I actually met Henrik at a recent Bellingcat workshop, and we had a lot of conversations about the use of artificial intelligence for open source investigations and just internet research in general. And I thought it would be a really good idea to kind of bring this conversation online, as this is obviously very relevant for certainly everyone in our field, but I think really anyone doing online research, which I think these days is pretty much anyone. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Hi, Henrik. Welcome on the podcast.
Hi, Philip. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Henrik. I hope everything is well in Norway. Right. Let's start with some introduction. What is your story? What is your educational background, your career background?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a journalist trainer at the Norwegian Institute of Journalism right now. I'm a journalist by education and by career. So I've been a journalist for 25 years. I've been an editor for 2 years. Been a project manager for God knows how long. And I've had a lot of technical roles in the public broadcaster in Norway. So basically, I've been working with a lot of digital projects, but I've also been doing open source intelligence in Faktisk Verifiserbar. It's sort of the unit that was created after the outbreak of the Ukrainian war. Yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you. And you studied journalism, but then you also studied front-end development. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's quite unusual. No, I mean, for a journalist to also have this more technical background. Like, what led you in that direction?
I think that's just a sign of the times. Journalists need to branch out. They need to keep learning, and we need more technical journalists. We need more data journalists. We need more people who can, look at a spreadsheet and make sense of it and construct it in such a fashion that you can actually tell new stories.
And this is kind of what you teach currently at the Norwegian Institute of Journalism. Is that correct? Yeah,
no. Normally, I would be teaching open source intelligence and AI safe usage of AI for journalists and editors. That's my main focus at the moment. But I do a lot of OSINT training and a lot of consulting for smaller newsrooms.
And when you say AI, I mean, this is obviously a very broad topic. Is there something specific that you focus on in your courses, or how does it work?
Yeah, sure. Mainly, right now, what I'm doing is focusing on what's safe, how to get started using AI for journalistic purposes without actually either making the newsroom unsafe. I mean, in terms of privacy and unpublished material. So I'm teaching people exactly what AI is at the moment and what it does and what it doesn't do, and obviously what you definitely shouldn't do when it comes to using any of the generative models. That's my main focus at the moment. But I'm also doing we're developing a 2-day course for using AI in journalistic research. And I mean, it's an exercise in humility every time I stand up and try to make some sense of it to people, because it happens. Everything just changes from one day to the next. So it's all a matter of trying to keep up with the train that's running.
And I mean, obviously, I understand that the courses, they probably last over a period of, I don't know, a couple of days or a couple of weeks. But if you were to kind of summarize, in a most succinct way possible, basically your main kind of advice to journalists about how to use this technology in a safe way, how would you do that?
I would definitely tell them to be curious. Tell them to be curious and to experiment, and to, for God's sake, keep any and all sensitive data away from these models. But try and play with the AI, and keep see if you can have some low level projects that you can envision AI helping you to solve. The generative models, that is. Just create a project and let your playful side come out.
So you would definitely recommend people not putting any, as you said, any sensitive data in that model. And
if we're looking at ChatGPT, they're an open AI. They're not very forthcoming with what they train their model on. So knowing what goes into the next training set is obviously an issue. You should always compartmentalize your information so that any sensitive issues, such as privacy issues or contacts, any information that can be used to identify sources, just keep it the hell away from AI. And as you would as a normal investigative journalist, you would take really good care of that information and keep it separate from your open computer systems. So it's just basically just keep the computer security mindset even when using AI. Well, especially when using AI.
So is it somehow even more important than, let's say, if I'm used to just typing things, names, whether it's companies, individuals, into Google, that's obviously also not secure. But then basically doing exact same thing with language models like ChatGPT, is there even more of an issue?
You can use an example for this. If you were to give ChatGPT access to unpublished material, say you have a block of text that you want to somehow work with in ChatGPT, but it's not been published, and it contains some information that's not known out there. Well, theoretically, if you were to share that information with ChatGPT, the information could be made available for someone else at the same time, looking for the same information, looking for the same field of information, and that obviously should be as a journalist a huge no-no. In terms of, the unpublished material you should never share with anyone. But the overruling principle here is to involve AI as close to publication as possible, just to minimize the risk.
Is it maybe obviously this probably wouldn't be an option for really small organizations, but for larger organizations, would it be a potential solution to develop their own chatbots?
Yes, definitely, and it is. It's coming more and more. OpenAI is famously closed in how they train their ChatGPT, but there are other also Norwegian companies creating their own GPTs, and we have had a few projects in the Verifiserbare, the OSINT unit where I've been working, where we do have a tank classifier and a language recognizer for use in content from the war. So it is possible. It is definitely possible. It's supremely possible, and something every larger news organization should be looking into doing.
And if you go back to the basics, like if so you are talking to journalists or people anyone who needs to research information on the internet, and they have no really prior experience with these chatbots like ChatGPT. What are the most basic kind of ways people can use this technology to simplify their work?
That's a very good question. I would say language-wise, keep it away. It'll never replace, at least not in its current state, it will never replace a journalist. It can help you summarize huge amounts of text, PDFs, that kind of thing. And GPT-4 has just a suite of really, really nice tools. The advanced data analysis can give you a lot faster visualization of data and really complicated data sets. It can strengthen your reporting in that sense, but this is for research purposes, not for publication purposes. I would never use it to replace my written text at all. It's just not good enough. Yeah, it's a support. It's not a replacement.
And for summaries, because from my experience, I also use this technology to summarize text, but I feel like I always need to. I can only do it if I understand the text. I still need to read the text, and then instead of summarizing myself, I can ask ChatGPT to summarize it. Because at the moment, I just feel like the technology is not fully reliable. I cannot just rely on it to summarize the text without me really knowing the source information. Exactly. And I was wondering, do you think this is something that will change in the future, that the technology will just become more reliable in that sense, that you won't really even need to know the source information?
That is another great question, Philip. Yes, the short answer is yes, with a caveat. I would always check summaries. I would always check information. I would always treat it as any other human source. You wouldn't trust a single source of information, would you?
Right.
You would always check. And it's the same thing with AI. It doesn't give you... it won't solve all your problems, but it will be a great support for a lot of the menial tasks. Right now, the greatest things for us is transcription of interviews and summaries of meetings. I do use that for non-sensitive meetings. I transcribe the meetings, and then I upload them to GPT, and then I have meeting notes that I can converse with. Which I think is a great tool, great strength, but again, it's a support function. It's not part of the publication or the writing, if you understand.
And another big question, obviously related to ChatGPT, is the prompting, which seems to really be, again, from my experience, it's that seems to be really the most important part. The better question you ask, the better results you get. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It's the same with the DALL-E and the Midjourney. The more you know, the more concise your prompts are. Of course, the better the output. So the better the photographer asking for an image in Midjourney, the better the output will be, because they just have more knowledge of what they want. Same with journalists. Same with anyone who's used to producing text and used to asking sources for information. The more succinctly and the more precise the question, the better, the more precise the answer. But again, with the prompts, it's possible to improve the answers through this conversation that you will have with GPT-4, and it's a great thing that you're not actually being judged by the interview object. You could just ask all the dumb questions you want.
And is it something you feel like people, as they use this technology, they continuously improve with making these prompts, or is it something that you would recommend maybe people take some courses on, or how do you view that?
I would go ahead and just learn as much as you can, and there are some great prompts out there that will. Well, I use an iterative prompt that helps me develop the really precise prompts when I don't know what I'm looking for.
What was that?
Sorry, an iterative prompt, like a prompt that will improve your prompt. You can add it as a custom instruction to your ChatGPT, but essentially it's instructing GPT to act as a prompt engineer for you. And what you'll get back is a revised prompt and 5, 6, 7 really good questions that GPT-4 will use then to further refine the prompt. I did that for my wife. She's a garlic farmer, or she wants to be a garlic farmer. Long story, pandemic related, but she needed a business plan, so we started with this iterative prompt. She is the kind of technological Luddite that'll usually just, if something isn't working, if the remote isn't working, it takes about 3 seconds until it hits the wall. But for this prompting here was amazing, because it did ask her really good questions. It felt like for her, it felt like she was talking to someone who knew what they were on about. So she answered the questions, and it made her business plan in 7-8 minutes. She had something concrete to work with, which is, it's not anything original, but what you put in is what you get out of GPT, really.
And another question I wanted to ask you was, because you already mentioned it yourself, this DALL-E and Midjourney, so this AI models that help you create images. Or I mean, you'll explain it better, obviously, how these tools work. But yeah, there's a lot of issues related to regarding copyright. So what is your stance on that?
I have used GPT to copy the style of comedians when asking for text, and I mean, it looks like they've been taking some form of steps to stop copyrighted issues. I've had a few prompts return with, "I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. It's copyrighted." This was regarding, translating songs, that kind of thing. But I think it is a major issue. It has been an issue in Norway as well, that GPT was trained on books, for instance, written by Norwegian authors without their knowledge. But I mean, the fear of what's coming out in the other end, I think is, I wouldn't say it's unfounded, but I think it's the fear is maximized. You could never replace a great work of fiction, or you could never copy a great work of fiction from a great author and have it sound natural you lack the divine spark that a human will give to any sort of artistic material. So I think you could probably produce quite a lot of mediocre content. Not probably, of course you can. You can produce a lot of mediocre and pretty poor content. So I think people who want to keep producing mediocre content should worry. I think they're the ones who will be who will have problems in the future. But the true artists, musicians, the authors, anyone who produces copyrighted material that is of high standards, they have nothing to worry about, I think.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask you, when we go back to ChatGPT again, there is the free version, the 3.5 version, and then there is the paid version. Would you recommend everyone using the paid for version, or what is the difference between the two?
All depends on usage, I think. For anyone just wanting to test it out, just do the free version. The GPT-4 will give you a lot more options. I use the advanced data analysis quite a lot. It will allow you to upload files. And I think the GPT-4 is for someone who wants to go somewhere with what they do with AI. You get access to the APIs, to the OpenAI API, so you can create your own tools. For smaller newsrooms, I don't think that's all that interesting, but it does open some doors when it comes to information security. Yeah, if you pay for OpenAI, the end user license agreement will state that they do not use your material for further training. So, if you do trust OpenAI, that will be a safer solution for your newsroom. Yeah.
Do you trust OpenAI in this specific sense?
No, the big issue here, I think, with AI is that the evolution of AI has really just been handed to tech companies and developers, and the social sciences are so far behind on this that I would never trust any of these tech companies. They're thinking profits, they're thinking development, they're thinking evolution, revolution. And I think a lot of privacy has really been left behind. A lot of there's a huge problem we're facing in the coming years, because everyone's been treated as not as human beings in training of these language models. They've been treated as data subjects. So there's so much here that will be unpacked in the coming years. That'll, it will be huge issues for us as a society. So I wouldn't trust them, no.
And I imagine the future is it's definitely going in this direction, right? I guess most people in the world are still, I assume, Googling when they want to find out basic information about whatever. They would go to Google, type something into the search box there. How do you view the future in that sense, in terms of just searching information online?
No, searching information is Google is still not a perfect product. Are you thinking of AI will replace Google?
Because I've been seeing that, for instance, the like Bing has been integrating this technology into their search models, and I don't know what Google has been doing, but I just wonder how the future will look in that regard.
Oh, it's famously last words to try and predict anything, but I think everything is going really, really fast. The big game changer is on its way when you have personal assistants, Alexa or Siri or or Hey Google, they will be, when they are connected more thoroughly to generative AI, that'll be a huge difference. I think a lot of people will, who are not today using any of the traditional news media, will, just keep getting their information some other way, and I think AI will replace a lot of that. Hopefully, I think news organizations are going to be more important in the future, because there will be a lot more generative, pardon my French, garbage out there. So hopefully, from a journalistic point of view, journalism will be more important. Interpreting the world around us will be more important. It will be a massive role for journalists in the coming years. And I do think a lot of people will get their information from some kind of digital assistant.
Wow, the brave new world. Well, Henrik, thank you very much for your time and this conversation. I feel like I really learned a lot. And we will make sure to redo this conversation once there's a need for it. But until then, take care. Bye-bye.
You too, Philip.